If you clicked on this video, you might have seen the OVA Cat Soup, a cult classic fever dream of a movie with a simple but distinct art style. If you were charmed by the movie's surreal vibe, you might have tried to seek out more of the series. It wouldn't take you long to figure out that the movie Cat Soup is just one portion of the greater franchise that is Nekojiru. Maybe you found the Nekojiru Theater shorts on YouTube, or you read Nekojiru Udon, but if you kept digging, you probably noticed that things went a lot deeper. Just image searching Nekojiru brings up photos of all this weird old merchandise. There's a pretty large list of manga releases too, and you just keep finding all these fragments of what seemed to be a multimedia empire, yet hardly any of the manga has English translations available. Even to Japanese consumers, it's all out of print with only some digital options available, and English information on the series is just generally lacking and scattered. To people who continue trying to find more Nekojiru material after this point, the relationship to the series isn't one of simple consumption, but they become something of an archaeologist, unearthing all these bits and pieces of something that's fallen from grace and into obscurity. Efforts by translators, such as myself and a couple others, are attempting to increase the accessibility of Nekojiru and gather as much information as possible, but if you can't read Japanese and you aren't willing to import random obscure books off of Japanese auction sites, a lot of Nekojiru is still kinda shrouded in mystery. By the end of this video, I intend to have bestowed onto you a crash course of the information I've uncovered after the last decade or so of being kind of obsessed with all of this. I hope you enjoy it. Part 1. What actually is Nekojiru? In 1990, readers of Garo magazine would be introduced to a violent, crudely drawn manga strip titled Nekojiru Udon. A mother cat takes her kitten to an udon shop and repeatedly asks the chef to neuter him. The chef eventually relents, attempts to do so, and accidentally kills the kitten in the process. He then serves the kitten's testicles to the next customer as Nekojiru Udon, or Cat Soup Udon. This would be the beginning of something huge. More of these dark comedy-style manga strips was serialized in Garo magazine until Nekojiru Udon Volume 1 was published, then Volume 2, then 3, then many more manga would be published all throughout the 90s. Which is to say, nothing of the many other forms that Nekojiru would take, from bizarre CD-ROMs to nail clippers. This momentum wasn't all fueled by the crude scribbles of its original debut though, and in fact, Nekojiru would quickly begin to look pretty different to its original appearance. A basic main cast was established that could be refitted to tell different kinds of stories. The kind of default setting of Nekojiru follows the misadventures of older sister Nyako and her younger brother Nyato. These are the two cats that feature in the OVA Cat Soup and reappear getting into all manners of trouble across the Nekojiru series. Nyako and Nyata's basic design and relationship dynamic is recycled throughout the series. For example, in some releases, they take the form of these cat god characters. While not explicitly brother and sister, and not using the names Nyako and Nyata, one is still slightly older and acts as something of an older sibling to the younger one who can still only meow to communicate, and they both still retain the same kind of ambivalent and self-interested personalities. Most notably though, the design of the older sister Nyako character is also used by the author to represent herself in her autobiographical works and her travelogues. These works are my absolute favorite in the series, and I have to assume most people feel the same way, as it offers a glimpse into the life and thoughts of the creator of this strange and unique world. You can get a sense of how she feels about herself and other people, as in these works she's the only cat character while her husband and everybody else are normal humans. But we'll come back to her later. For now, we understand Nekojiru to be largely comprised by a manga series that covers a few different formats and genres, but is best known for the cult classic movie Cat Soup. But what else is Nekojiru? Part 2. The Empire of Nekojiru. Nekojiru was produced under a strict never turn down a job policy. This led to a decently large collection of manga being released in its relatively short active run from 1990 to 1998. You have to assume this attitude led to the creation of the surprisingly large number of CD-ROMs. These are certainly a topic for their own video, but they range from screensavers to a kind of greeting card workshop to digital CGI versions of some classic Nekojiru Udon chapters. I love these things. They're so of their time, and in my opinion, they really capture the essence of Nekojiru. There's of course the aforementioned OVA and Nekojiru Theater, which consists of 27 short, minute-and-a-half episodes featuring Yako and Yato getting up to their classic violent antics. Look, here it is on a VHS tape that I can't use because the last time I saw a VCR was 20 years ago. But anyway, as impressive as all that is, it is to say nothing of the merchandise. They knew they had highly marketable cat characters on their hands, and they did not sleep on that. I've been looking at old Nekojiru merchandise for over a decade now, and I still stumble upon some random thing I've never seen before. This could be its own video, but briefly. There's obviously an ocean of plushies. You'd think they'd run out of ways to turn the same basic cat design into plushies, but, actually maybe you wouldn't think that. You've got your usual stuff like keychains and t-shirts, and I'm telling you, this stuff gets real specific real fast. Like, there was watches and alarm clocks, boot keepers, tissue boxes, fucking nail clippers. They went Evangelion level crazy specific with the merchandising. So clearly, Nekojiru was doing incredibly well as an up-and-coming franchise. At the peak of its popularity, there was even a collaboration with Tokyo Electric Company, and a mascot designed in the vein of the Nekojiru art style called Denki-kun was created and appeared in TV commercials.
Denki-kun desu.
So what happened? Where did Nekojiru go? Well, let's take a step back so we can get a clearer picture of things. Part 3. Who created Nekojiru? Earlier, I made a brief mention of the creator of Nekojiru, as she uses the Nyako avatar to represent herself in her works. This is Chiyomi Hashiguchi, and in general, she's understood to be the sole creator of the Nekojiru series, but that's kind of not true, or at least it's slightly more complicated than that. In short, Nekojiru was very much a joint project between Chiyomi and her husband, who was already established as a manga artist under the pen name Yamano Hajime. It's not a secret that Yamano assisted the production of Nekojiru, though his role is often massively understated. The division of labor between the two has always been a bit unclear and seemed to have shifted over the years, but in general, it seems that Chiyomi was the source of ideas and Yamano translated them into art. I could talk more about how Chiyomi and Yamano's relationship influences what Nekojiru is in the future, but for now, let's just learn a little about them individually. Yamano is a self-taught artist who debuted with his brutalist manga style in Garo magazine in 1983. His standout work at the time was Sunset on 4th Street, a manga depicting the desolate lives and living conditions of factory workers, inspired by his own experience living and working in extreme poverty. Not much is known about Chiyomi before she made her debut as Nekojiru in 1990. When those close to Chiyomi were asked for comment about her, they would almost always describe her eccentric and highly introverted personality. Despite that, though, it's known that she romantically pursued Yamano fiercely after meeting him through a mutual friend. They soon entered a relationship and were quickly married after. To begin with, Chiyomi had no intentions of becoming a manga artist, but after Yamano noticed some strange, octopus-like cat drawings Chiyomi had created, he began making stories inspired by them. This, combined with Yamano's already established connections to Garo magazine, was the basis for the beginning of Nekojiru. The autobiographical works, told from Chiyomi's first-person perspective, in which she even looks like the Nyako character, made Chiyomi's Nekojiru persona an intrinsic aspect of the series. None of her work was published under her real name, and she instead chose to double up on Nekojiru as a pen name, as well as it being the series name. This can make discussions about the series and author a little confusing, so I'm going to be calling her by her name for the sake of clarity, but in general, she is referred to by her pen name Nekojiru. Chiyomi and Yamano worked tirelessly on Nekojiru together for almost a decade. They were considered to be incredibly eccentric, and despite their massive workload, would often refuse outside help in their creative process. Even things like designing the packaging for merchandise, it's said that Chiyomi worked on by herself. Despite how surely overworked they were, the never turn down a job policy meant that the wheels of Nekojiru kept on spinning, and the franchise got bigger and bigger. Until, suddenly, everything came crashing down. Part 4. The Death of Nekojiru. On May 10th, 1998, Yamano found Chiyomi dead in their bathroom. She had committed suicide by hanging. As far as speculation goes, it was well known that she was overworked and in a poor mental state while creating Nekojiru. It's likely she was suffering from suicidal feelings for a long time. Although no note was left behind when she died, Yamano would later allude to the existence of a suicide note she wrote a few years prior to her death, possibly from a previous attempt. Speculation aside, it's unclear exactly what she was thinking when she decided to end her life, but in an instant, half of the machine that was Nekojiru and the figurehead of the franchise itself was gone. The collaboration with Tokyo Electric Company was ended. The Nepal follow-up to the popular India travelogue would be published as a forever incomplete addendum, and the seeming unstoppable, growing popularity of Nekojiru began to fade away. Yamano would slowly publish his own Nekojiru works under the name Nekojiru Y, a topic for another day for sure. He's been taking a hiatus from creating more Nekojiru manga since 2013, though he did recently open a new online store for print-on-demand type Nekojiru merchandise, so the series isn't entirely abandoned. But that pretty much brings us to where we are today. Nekojiru would begin its decline into obscurity before any of its manga would be officially translated into English. The Katsuber VA remains the only notable overseas release Nekojiru ever saw. And now, anybody who wants to enter into and experience the surreal world of Nekojiru is left putting the pieces together of something that used to be much bigger. Hey, thanks for watching my first video in what I plan to be a long series of deep dives into everything Nekojiru. If you didn't catch the sneaky plug earlier in the video, I translate Nekojiru and I upload it to NeoCities. If you want to keep up with my Nekojiru related work and probably updates for this channel, check out the Twitter or Tumblr pages. I put a lot of work into my translations and I do it all for free, so if you like what I do and want to support me, please, for now, consider subscribing to this channel. It'd mean a lot. Okay, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video really soon.